It's an unfortunate reality that at some point while performing life-saving duties, lifesavers may be involved in a critical incident.
A critical incident is any incident experienced by volunteers and emergency services personnel that triggers unusually strong emotional responses. It has the potential to affect their normal day-to-day living hours, weeks or months after the event.
Some examples of critical incidents include contact with a deceased person, a resuscitation, an unsuccessful, long or complicated rescue, when the patient is a child, when there's been a serious injury to yourself or other members, when you're exposed to gruesome sights, or when there's a threat to life.
It was a busy January day. We were both on water's edge. We heard a bit of a ruckus kind of over to our right. We went over and there was a group of people pulling a body in from the water. The body looked fairly lifeless. Our initial thought was that the person was unconscious. Turned out the guy was conscious, wasn't able to move either his arms or his legs. So obviously had some sort of spinal injury.
We can support lifesavers that come in contact with disturbing or traumatic events by utilising the basic principles of psychological first aid.
Psychological first aid is a flexible intervention. Its aim is about calming and supporting people in the aftermath of trauma, but what we know is that people react to trauma in all different kinds of ways. So therefore the intervention we provide to people in the aftermath needs to be flexible and needs to be able to be adapted to the various kinds of difficulties that people can experience.
When dealing with disturbing or traumatic events, we need a plan of action. One such plan is the Manners model.
The Manners model of psychological first aid was developed by looking at other models of psychological first aid that had been designed to assist emergency recovery workers following major disasters. Ambulance Victoria realised that there was a need to apply those same principles for normal everyday emergencies, medical emergencies and traumatic emergencies. There's 6 stages of the Manners model of psychological first aid, and they're broken up into the key areas being minimise exposure, acknowledging the event, normalising the experience for the individual, providing education where required, ensuring the person has returned to normal following the event or referring them on to the appropriate care, and to provide self-care to yourself following the incident.
When lifesavers are involved with a critical incident, your regional officer will attend the scene and undertake a voluntary operational debrief.
After a critical incident, lifesavers will often rework their response to try and answer several questions such as, did I do everything right? What went wrong? Was there anything I could have done better? And it's these sorts of questions that are worked through in the operational debrief in conjunction with the regional officer.
The positive feedback from the debrief was really nice. It made us feel good about what we did. It made us feel, content with what happened. We weren't looking back with regret about what we could have done better. I guess getting the support of those state guys was really good.
Most people recover from a traumatic event using their existing coping strategies and their supports from family, friends and other members within the organisation. But for some, they do experience difficulties that can persist. Very important is through psychological first aid that we start at screening and monitoring for those that might experience those difficulties, keep an eye on them, and if things aren't recovering, that they're assisted in getting professional support. It's not uncommon for people to be experiencing difficulties readjusting after a traumatic event or experiencing some distress in the immediate term. Most times that stabilises and the person starts to feel like they're recovering after a few days. Should the member actually develop a mental health difficulty in the aftermath of a traumatic event, it's important to know that we have treatments that can be very effective intervening and assisting in any of these kinds of difficulties.
To assist with the management of critical incidents, Lifesaving Victoria offers a variety of services and resources for members. Resources include the Critical Incident Management brochure and poster, which are both available from your club or regional officer.